Nope.
My girlfriend of 3 years is the kind of person that is scared of everything. Darkness, scary movies, clowns. I am always reminded of Courage the Cowardly Dog, but without the courage. So when she called me crying last week, I brushed it off as another silly little spook. Her dad came here to the States after a nasty divorce from an abusive mother and returns back to Europe each summer to visit with family and friends. When he leaves, my girlfriend is home alone so she can take care of the overactive Chuck, a little brown pup that resembles a woodchuck, hence the name. They live in a townhome with a small backyard, half of which is a wooden deck that steps down to concrete. It was here where the dog first acted strange, growling and making a racket. Over the phone, she tells me how she is woken up by Chuck every morning around 4 a.m. to feed him. After that, she lets him outside to pee and makes herself some breakfast. She tells me that a few minutes after letting him out, she hears him growling and goes outside to check. This is where I had to roll my eyes. She says that she freezes, looking up to barely make out what looks like a head floating in the morning air, humming like a bee, darting from one side of their small yard to another. At this point of her story, Chuck ran between her legs, and after grabbing him, she sprinted inside. I'm accustomed to hearing my girlfriend talk about how she thought she saw something, or how she felt she was being watched, but I had never heard her say anything about actually seeing something. Now, me being one who doesn't believe in ghosts and the like, I did my best to try and calm her down, showing her pictures of those remote-controlled helicopters people fly around, and explained to her how it was probably just someone pulling a prank or being a creep. She wasn't really listening, but it did help, and she was far more stable as the sun had come out. And that was that. Now, that brings us to tonight. It was our first 4th of July together, as she had gone with her dad in past summers. I had gone over and had breakfast, done the usual, and then headed out with her friends for the day. Usually, Chuck was right there at the door, jumping all over me and running around with excitement, but not today. I asked her where Chuck was, and she said that he had been playing in the back since the morning. I took a quick peek and saw that he was just standing there, with his head low to the ground, shoved right into the corner of the house where the wood deck was. I called for him a few times before he brought his head up and realized I was there, then returned back to his normal self. "Is he all right?" I asked. My girlfriend looked puzzled. "Yeah, he's fine. Why?" I just brushed it off and joked. He just wasn't there at the door today. We went about our business, but had some time to kill, so we watched some Netflix or something before heading out for the day. I was slightly distracted the whole time, because I could hear Chuck scratching the wooden deck from where we sat. When it was over, I called Chuck inside. The next thing I heard was the familiar thump of a puppy running up the stairs. We watched fireworks and said goodbye to our friends rather quick, since we couldn't leave that dog alone for too long without him tearing apart the carpet. We got back to her place around 10, and Chuck was at the back, scratching at his doggy door since we had closed it on the way out. "Hey, Can you let him out? I gotta pee too, my girlfriend said lightly. I told her okay as she closed the door to the bathroom, and I opened the door to the yard. Immediately, that dog ran for the same corner he was at all morning. I waited and had a smoke in the dark. I stared at Chuck the whole time while I smoked, and he had not moved a muscle. I let the butt fall from my hand, meaning to step it out after it fell, but it ended up slipping through a small gap in the deck. Shit. I still don't know why I crouched, it just happened. Next thing I know, Chuck shoves his face right under mine, startling me and sniffing like a frickin' bomb dog. Then he started growling in the creepiest way. I heard him growl at other dogs, but even that sounded playful. I can't even describe how this sounded. I just knew in my gut something was up. My first thought was that there was some type of rodent under the boards. It wasn't a rat. Chuck began backing towards the house, and that's when I heard the humming. It was like a ton of bees, but a more fat and humming sound. Periodically, there was a rustling of dirt and a little rumble from Chuck. I, however, was frozen. Bam! The board, right where I was standing, was slammed by that thing below. Chuck began to bark very loudly before running through his doggy door back into the house. That barking made the thing even angrier, and it smacked the boards even harder than it did before. At this point, I realized it was between me and the house, and I did not want to be on that deck any longer. I started stepping down to the concrete, and the thumping stopped. At this point, I realized the only light was from the house, and I was standing in total darkness. Bam! I jumped and tripped, falling right on my ass as that thing pounded away at the steps. It wanted to get out. The adrenaline was pumping, and I could not think of anything but to back away as far as I could until I hit the wooden fence. That's when I saw the steps cracking and splintering only a few feet in front of me. Bam! Another slam, and now I heard the humming again. Bam! That slam breaks one of the panels of the steps. Bam! Finally, the hole is opened up wide enough so that thing can shove its fingers out. But those aren't fingers. It pushed the loose boards open with a pop and a crack, revealing a black hole for it to crawl right through. Those fingers? They were legs. Small and skinny, like a spider's, but I could tell, even with the little light that I had, that they were more fleshy and bony. It moved methodically and carefully, with a sort of stubble covering its body that I swear vibrated the air. I knew it saw me, but I could still not see it, its eyes or its face. With every step of its long legs, it got closer, and I could feel my hands go numb and the blood rush from my face. That's when it started clicking. If you've ever heard a woodpecker, it sounded kind of like that, and it shook a little with each click. I keep comparing this thing to other animals because it didn't seem like it was from this world. It didn't belong here. It belonged in some story you tell your kids so they stay in bed. What happened next seems like an eternity. It had crawled its way and began to rear up, the clicking getting faster. For a second, I swear it looked like a floating head, but then its legs spread out and open. I almost caught a glimpse of what you could call its face before it was silhouetted by the light coming from the house. As I recall this, I realize how truly close it was to me at the time. If I extended my leg, I could have touched the damn thing. The backyard light turned on and there was a scream. This snapped the thing back into its crawling position, and it scrambled to get away from the light with a terrifying speed. The sound of it scratching the concrete and clawing its way over the fence still makes me cringe as I type this. I was in shock, and it took me a few seconds to realize that my girlfriend was there at the door, sobbing and in hysterics. We both went inside and into her room with Chuck, locking every door and window behind us. For a few hours, that clicking sound outside continued. At first, only I noticed it, but soon she did as well because it was getting louder and louder. I peeked through the blinds a few times, but I never saw anything. As I sit here and type this, it's 3 a.m. My girlfriend and Chuck have fallen asleep, but I just can't get the image of that thing out of my head. I don't think I'll be sleeping at all tonight. Now, I will always remember the 4th of July as the time I saw that thing. And what's worse is I know it's out there. I have no idea where, but it is. It hates the light, so it would be most active at night. I'm posting this to warn others. Be careful. Listen for any strange clicking noises, quick tapping or scuttling, and especially watch your pets. If they act strange, it might mean it's near. I know this all sounds crazy, but please listen. I hope someone catches and kills that thing soon. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button down below and subscribe for future videos if you haven't already. Until next time, dear listener, stay safe out there. I'll be seeing you in the next video.